Hello, my yarny friends. I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to another edition of This or That, and sometimes the other thing. I'm so glad you're here today. I have a really interesting subject. The couple of days ago, I put out a meme and I asked the question, what life lessons have you learned from crochet? And I was really impressed with a lot of the answers. Some people sent me emails, some people sent me messages, and some of you commented as well underneath that meme. So I posted this meme that said, what life lessons have you learned from crochet? And I posted it here in the community that we have. I also posted it on my Facebook page, Posh Pooch Designs. I posted it in our Facebook group, Coffee and Crochet with Sarah. And I also posted it online on my Twitter or X account as well. And I've got lots of messages, like I said, and lots of comments. And I was very impressed with a lot of what you all said. And then I got to thinking, what life lessons have I learned? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I have 5 different life lessons, sort of, that I'm going to talk about today. All right? One of the number one answers I got was the word patience. And the thing about crochet is we think we can just pick it up and just, even if it's an easy pattern, and just whip it out just like that. And the thing about crochet is, it's not, I mean, it is quicker, let's say faster than knitting or even Tunisian crochet. But regular old crochet with a hook and a ball of yarn, it's really not a quick process. And what it does is it teaches us to kind of sit back and have a little bit of patience and wait the process out and see how the item is going to work out. Okay, a good example of that is we all have different tension, and so sometimes we might be making, say, a washcloth, and the pattern says it's 12 by 12 inches. Mine's 13 by 13. What happened? Or mine's 10 by 10. What happened? I used the same yarn. I used the same crochet hook. What happened? What happened is we all have different tension, which means we crochet tighter or looser. And then we lose our patience and we say, never doing this again. Oh, don't do that. So what if your washcloth is bigger or smaller? If you're going tight and you've got a tight tension, do a few more rounds or rows and make it bigger, or go up a hook size or 2. There's a lot of things that we can do to adjust our tension, and that's where the word patience comes in, because we really need to remember to just calm down, enjoy the process, and just have a little bit of patience. And that kind of goes along with the number 2 thing, was perseverance. And perseverance is being patient, yes, but also long-suffering. Not going to just give up at the first mistake I make. Because believe me, we all make mistakes in crochet. Okay? Some of us are better at hiding them than others. There's been many times that I was working somebody else's pattern and it wasn't coming out exactly the way I wanted it to. Maybe it was too short or too long, or the hat didn't fit my head right, too big, and I didn't have the perseverance to keep working on it. And it's so important to not just give up, like I said, to just take the process as it comes and learn how to just relax. Perseverance it's kind of like patience, but it's hanging in there for the long haul. Okay? If you're making a great big blanket and you've got to make 40 8-inch or 40 12-inch granny squares, and when you first started, all your squares were perfect, but lately they've been too big or too small. Again, that just means your tension has changed. And you can block your squares and still put them together if they're just off by a 1/2 inch or something. But just the the importance of perseverance is crochet is such a wonderful art, fiber art, craft, and it has so much that is healing in it that it's worth the time and the perseverance that it takes to make a great big blanket or sweater or something. And just hang in there. Don't worry about it if it's not perfect. Just hang in there and keep on going. And that's where the word perfection comes from. We need to relax, have patience, and persevere. And we need to remember that it doesn't have to be perfect. And I know a lot of times when I'm making it as a gift, I want it to be as perfect as it can be. But you know what? Once you give it as a gift, if you skipped a stitch or made one too many shell stitches in the trim or something, they're not going to care. If they truly love you and love the things that you give them, they probably won't even notice that imperfection. And the truth of the matter is, there was a saying, I don't know where it came from, is that if there's a perfection, it was made with love. Okay? And it doesn't matter if there was a little bit of a imperfection. It was made with love. And so, yes, we want to get all the stitch counts right. Yes, we want to make sure that it lays beautifully flat. Or if we're working, say, a circle blanket or pillow or something, we want it to be perfect. We do. You know, but on the other hand, we're also artists. And art is never a perfection. It never is. Artist is abstract. You know, get it, you know, enjoy the process, do the best that you can, and just enjoy the whole process of the crochet, the gift, giving it to someone, and just realizing we don't have to be perfect. And I get it. I love for my things to come out perfect, but there's sometimes I'll be making something that I need to put a face on, and the mouth will be a little bit crooked. And I'm like, oh, man. And then I look at it, I'm like, I like it. You know, or maybe one eye will be lower than the other. And at first you're like, aw. And then you're like, hey, I kind of like it. It's kind of quirky. You know. And so, and those are just things that makes fiber art fun, you know, and yarn and crochet fun. Because it doesn't matter if it's not 100% perfect. You do the best that you can. And the person you're giving it to, like I said, when they love you, they won't care. And they probably won't even see it. They won't see that you added one too many chains or one too many shells, or there's not enough chains or shells or something like that. They probably won't see it, you know. I know I've done granny squares where you do the continuous granny. And then I get into a few rows and I'm like, oh man, way down here, I forgot to add one of my granny clusters. A lot of times I'll just go in and add it in. You know, and there's a lot of fun things that you can do that way as well. And I do have a this and that video I did probably a year ago maybe, that I talk about how to fix a lot of those things that we missed. If you missed a double crochet, or if you missed a cluster in a granny square, or, you know, things like that, how to add more chains at the end if you don't have enough. I did do a video on that. I'll see if I can find it. But that will help you. Especially if you're giving a gift, when you realize, you know, 20 rows down and you don't need to frog it, you can just fix it. Although a lot of times I will frog a project if it is a gift. Number 4 is practice. When I first began learning to crochet, I had, like I said before, an elderly lady in our church who has since passed. When I was growing up, she taught me a lot of things about crochet. Very old school. And plus I spent a lot of time at the library and I practiced a lot. She told me, you need to practice. You need to practice that chain until it's even. You need to practice that granny square until all sides are the same. You need to practice that granny square until it's a nice square. You know, things like that. And practice will help you. Practice your gauge. You know, when you're making something new and it's a brand new stitch, you've never tried it before, don't make the whole blanket and then go, oh no, I did it wrong. Practice the new stitch just on a little swatch and practice it until you get the, you know, that crocodile stitch right, or whatever you're doing, shells or whatever, bumps, front post, back post. Practice those things. And the more you practice, the more confident you will be. And I know a lot of people say practice makes perfect, but I always say practice makes confidence. Because when it comes to fiber art, we don't have to be perfect, like I said, but it is good to be confident in what you're doing. And confident where you feel that what you've done is wonderful and you want to give it to somebody. That is confidence. And practice is how we get there. Practicing all of those things, like I said, tension and counting stitches and how to know which loops to go in and things like that. Practice those things and you'll be a confident and wonderful crocheter. You really will. And don't just practice, but enjoy the practice. And I have a set of videos. It's called Back to Crochet Basics. And what it does is it has 12 videos. Each video has a little lesson and then a practice project. And if you want to practice some of those skills, that's a really good series. It's a playlist. You can find it on my YouTube channel here. Just go to my YouTube channel, click playlist and scroll down and it'll say Back to Crochet Basics. And there's 12 lessons. I created this right before COVID hit, and a lot of the schools were using it as something extra for the kids to do to keep them busy. And, because they were separated a lot, But it's a really good way to practice. Everything from starting a chain and how to keep it even, all the way up to granny squares and things like that. But practice. It'll help you be a more confident crocheter and a more practiced crocheter to where you'll feel confident enough to give your items away or even display them around your home. The last one is peace. And that's what this sign means. Keep calm, crochet on. I can't tell you how many times I have been in a stressful situation. Different times, things like going through cancer myself, thyroid cancer, when my mom passed, when my sister passed, moving, sicknesses, when my grandson was very sick, things like that, where I have turned to crochet for calmness and peace. And it's not that I'm wanting to make anything for anybody, but it keeps my hands and my mind busy. Different times when people that I love have been in the hospital, and I've had to wait, to find out the results, or even my own, when I've been in the hospital and or when I had my biopsies and I was waiting for results. A sense of calmness comes over me. Another person called it anti-anxiety, because crocheting, it pulls you out of that over anxious worry bubble, is what I call it. That's what happens to me. When I get over anxious and scared or nervous or something new is going to happen. I mean, even with, Rosie's been really sick lately and we just weren't sure what to do. And I'm sitting on the couch just crocheting like this craziness. And I'm making super tight things because I'm all tensed up. I pulled those things all out. But during the time, it helped me have a peace of mind. Helped me not to concentrate on what's going on with my baby girl. Or even when Maximo was super sick and he went over the Rainbow Bridge. It was hard. It was so hard to lose a puppy, lose a loved one, being sick ourselves, or things that happen in our life. It doesn't change the fact that these things happen, but it helps us to deal with them. And that's why I love this sign. I bought this. This is just a ceramic platter. I bought this at Target. It's a Threshold brand. It's just porcelain. And I took markers and I drew this. And then I baked it in my oven to keep it from coming off. And I just love it. That was dusty, wasn't it? It's been sitting over there in the corner, so it was a little bit dusty. Maybe I had to dust it. But I love this thing. I really, really do. And a lot of times I keep it as kind of a reminder. I was going to hang it up, but I couldn't find a hanger, like those hangers that you get for plates. I couldn't find one that was long enough. And I was going to hang it up, but I just set it over there in the corner, and I'll dust it after we're done talking. But anyway, it reminds me when I am in a stressful situation, whether it's a death in the family or sickness or finances or moving or something, it helps me remember to center, to calm my thoughts down. And when you're concentrating on crochet, you're not concentrating on all those outside things. You're concentrating on what you're working on. Even if it's just a simple washcloth or hot pad or a scarf or something that you've made 100 times, it helps you concentrate on those things and get your mind off those things that are troubling your mind. And so that's why these are what I would call life lessons we can learn from crochet. All right, so patience, perfection, perseverance, practice, and peace. They're all things that start with a P. But I should have called the second one non-perfection, because we don't have to be perfect. I'm certainly not. Okay, now I want to put that question back out to you as well. Are there lessons from life or lessons for life that you have learned through crochet and working with yarn, or any craft for that matter, anything that just gets our minds off our troubles? And it's just been healing for me. I mean, there's a lot that has happened in my life in the last couple of years. Loved ones passing, sicknesses in my loved ones, sicknesses in me, in my puppies, moving twice, and a lot of those things. And so when it comes to crochet, it's more than just playing with yarn, even though I love to play with yarn. It can really be, like I said, a calming for our minds and for our bodies. Just to calm down, keep calm, and crochet on. Well, thanks for being with me today. I want you to comment. I love it when you comment. I sure do. And I love to read your comments. And I do read every comment, and I really try to comment on all of them. Sometimes I might just give you a heart or a like or something, but I do read all your comments. And especially on a subject like this, it's super important to me, because it makes me, I guess you could say, does my heart good to know that your crochet is healing and helps you like it helps me. Well, I'll see you next time for another edition of this or that or the other thing. Well, thank you for being with me today, and I'll see you next time.